Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 12 was really interesting to me. I think it worked. I don't want to say it's peak. I don't want to say it's the best episode of Zet so far, but I do think it's a very effective episode for a couple of reasons. One, I think it had great spectacle. Seeing the uh, Nox Knight in the fight was fantastic. That suit is really cool. It's very dynamic, like Nem. And I'm sure everybody else was like Nem, shouting, "It's a shiny Zets!" And because that's exactly what he is. And it's really cool. It's really effective. It works. It definitely sells. And I don't know. I don't know. It's funny. I don't know if his design would be as effective had we started with him, like if that was the actual Zets suit, and then this darker um, suit that Zets has right now turned out to be the Nox Knight or whatever. Like if you swap them, would it be as effective or not? I don't really know. That's a kind of interesting thought experiment, though. Let me know what you think about that. Would that, if they'd been flipped, would we be all wowed by this, black and green, like, oh, he looks like the original Kamen Rider with his red highlights on him too? Kind of look for the Nox Knight if it was the current Zet suit or not. Just something curious. But I think what they did really nicely was they really balanced out the emotional revelations and the, I guess, the evolving lore, and like the story is growing at the same time as we're seeing this revelation. So um, it's currently December 3rd. Christmas is on the way. I think around episode 13 or 14 is typically now when Kamen Rider shows will have some sort of big change or new form or whatever in order to help tell a story that sells toys, hopefully. Hopefully. And interesting. And yeah, I think that's what they've done here. They've really effectively sold the Nox Knight, and they've sold and deepened my interest in the Capsems as a lore item, possibly as a toy. I don't really collect toys though, so that's not an issue for me. But I could see people who do collect toys saying, "Ooh, I definitely want a Capsem now." Barrier got cooler because it went evil, or that caliber, that Buster caliber, or whatever that Nox Knight has is really cool. I want one now, or I want his belt, or whatever. And I think that's really good because if your product, if your story can't sell to people, if it can't sell anything to people, if it can't sell the characters, if it can't sell its stakes and its drama, then it doesn't really matter what it does or what it has in it, because it won't reach the audience who you want it to reach. Similarly, these shows are very much based on selling toys, rather. And I've been arguing in my Heart and Soul mini-series that I'm doing, kind of investigating things about how this all works, that I think you need to sell toys in order for the shows to continue to be successful, as we see by Super Sentai going away and Project Red taking its place. But trying to focus on this, I mean, with that context in my mind as I'm watching this episode, I can't help but think of what a good job Zets is doing of selling the show to me and selling the toys to me and making it look cool. Even little things like Baku using the Capsems in real life. He's running around spinning that ball and making things happen, making powers come out of him. It's really cool. And I've talked about it before, how I don't like the Capsems. I have issues with them. And yet seeing him use them as the face actor, or seeing the face actor use them in scenes and having cool powers come out of them, is really neat, because it makes them more, I don't know why it works necessarily on a narrative level, but it does. But then additionally, I don't have it with me right now. I might dive too deep. Not Kaigon, was Icon. And I, bring it out every now and then. I hit the button and I get to hear it, make its little jingle and whatever. And it makes me, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun. It gives me good memories of Kamen Rider Ghost. And somehow in the body of the show, in whatever, in the presentation of the show, in the presentation of the stuff in the episodes, they're making it work so that you running around as a kid, pulling out your capsum and spinning it and it making noises and stuff, is going to delight you and excite you and be interesting to you. And I just find it to be really curious. I find it to be a brilliant move that they're selling the toys with the show and they're weaving it into the narrative, because he's using them in the scenes, and it's to great effect. It reminds me of they're not called Buddy Droids. That was from Forze, I believe. No, that was from Go Busters. Those were the food droids in Forze. I'm thinking about the memory gadgets. Yes, the memory gadgets from Kamen Rider Double. You had the little beetles. There was a couple beetles. There was a bat. There was a spider. There was these different gadgets that Shotaro used, and they worked sort of. I didn't really understand. There's a scene in like the first, maybe it's the second episode, where he's facing the magma and the Tyrannosaurus Rex memory, where he activates his bat, which is a camera, and it flies around flashing, and it like blinds the. It doesn't blind the dope hunt. Or I think it blinds the big dope hunt, and he's able to get away. Shotaro is, and like I didn't really understand what was even going on in the scene when I originally saw it 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, when I watched Double. And it's not because I'm an idiot, it's because it wasn't very clearly conveyed with the effects. It was a CGI effect, and just the way it was cut, the way it was edited, the way it was composited, maybe, it just didn't really sell it to me. And I didn't really like it. And I thought, these gadgets are dumb. They're inserting these things in here, and they're trying to make them cool, but it's not working. And I think he's got like the stag phone and whatever. The best thing that he had was the watch, the spider watch that had the zip line in it, because he uses it in like I feel like he uses it in the first episode. He doesn't use that very much often after that, but I feel like at one point he's holding Akiko. Shotaro's holding Akiko and like dangling down from something, which was really cool. I think they kind of used it to like avoid an attack of something, which like they went up, like something was coming toward them and they went up so that it missed them, which was pretty cool. But like the spider is definitely my favorite of the memory gadgets, and I remember it all these years later, even though I've only watched the show through one time. Although I've seen the first 2 episodes maybe 2 or 3 times total. I have a media brain, so it works for me. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, in Zeztz, they're doing such a better job of integrating this. Right now, I have it running episode 12 in the background as I'm recording this. And by the way, my interest would pop because I noticed a little detail of these little pins of circles and triangles and squares on Nem, which I'll talk about later in a short probably. And that seems to be related to Nox and these little things he has on his collar, on his suit. And anyway, talk about that later. But right now I want to focus on, I can't remember his name. Nox is Odika. There's also Okita in Omega. So Sorato Okita, I think. And then this guy's like Odaka. Anyway, a little confusing because the names are so similar, at least to my ear. And anyway, like we're getting all these revelations about him, and we get to see this glimpse of the past of him and Fujimi working together, and him talking about the nightmares, and he talks about how he wants to be the only one who takes on the nightmares and like has to deal with them. He doesn't want his boss to have to like interact with the nightmares and like face the horror of them. And he has this faraway look, and the scene cuts, and we don't know what's going on with him. But like, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Even like Nausicaa is coming around to the idea that he could be out there still, that maybe he's like Nem, he's missing, he's asleep, he's whatever, and like he can be saved, just like they think. I don't feel like Baku has talked to the detectives about it, but he's pledged to save her if he can, and now it seems like they have the idea that they want to save her, which I think is interesting. Hold on. So anyway, like that's all really big deal stuff, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with the story. And then like Baku tries to go get more Capsems and he can't, and Zero tells him some mumbo jumbo like this is linked to your subconscious, and like if you don't feel like you deserve this power or like you have access to this power, like if you're not in the right mindset to gain this power at this time, you won't gain this power. And I don't really know what that means. And then at the same time, Zero is holding this like superform Capsem, I assume, and he's wondering if he should give it to him at the end of the episode when Baku's sister Minami, she's Minami, comes in and sees him, and he's like, "Oh my, I bet you want an explanation." She said, "You're darn tootin' right, I want an explanation for what's going on." And he starts to explain to her, but then we cut away. But and then also at the end of the episode, we have kind of, it's cutting back and forth, I think, between these two scenes. We have this amazing fight with Baku and Nox blows up the recovery Capsem, or no, the barrier Capsem, which he shot once earlier. Now he shot it a second time, and then this phantom-like Zeztz comes out. It's the barrier form, except it's using the barrier to better use. It has little CGI barriers that float up on it, one arm when it's holding it up, as opposed to the big dumb props, which I don't like. I appreciate Tokusatsu should use practical effects when they can. I wish the little Capsem shows his hands have little like clear gel things around him with the green color. Maybe just give him things that he sticks a hand and you can tell it's formed to fit to his hand, but he holds them up and they act as barriers, and he does that for the most part. And then every now and then you just throw a dome over somebody to say, oh, they're in a bubble now, like they did when Barrier sort of debuted before, when he protected Nem and Zero, the motorcycle, in that one scene, which was against Mickey Mold from, I think, 1 episode ago, not 2 episodes ago. Anyway, so anyway, I have some issues with some of the design choices that they made here, but then you have like this like feral. It almost reminds me of from Kingdom Hearts when I remember it was Kingdom Hearts 2 every now and then when you would use the alternate forms for Sora. Every now and then this gauge would build up in the background. And all of a sudden you'd switch into this like heartless mode or dark mode or whatever, and or it's like his shadow mode. I can't remember what it was. It's been a long time since I played KH2. But anyway, it reminded me of that. And he's fighting that, and it's really interesting that like there's this idea that Nox brings up that the Capsems are, and I talked about this in my reaction to the episode, which you should check out too. I'll have the blog post version of this all will have that linked to and integrated, so you don't have to go searching around for it, and that'll be linked in the pinned comment here, probably in the description too. Anyway, he talked about the Capsems being what makes nightmares possible. So that's a really bad Marty McFly impression. So it's interesting because I thought it would have been the other way around. I don't want to belabor that point. You heard that from me. If you want more insights, check out the short or the blog post that will have that integrated into it as well. But yeah, it's really fascinating. And like the idea that Code is this older organization also fascinates me, and I want to find out more. And I'm super intrigued, and it's interesting because I also like the look of the suit. So I like the Capsems more than I've ever liked them before. They matter. They have stakes for the story. They have stakes for the lore. Nox is rooted in the lore even deeper. I care more about his story. I care about seeing him redeemed or saved somehow, which I usually just want villains to be killed and that be the end of it, so that we don't have sympathetic villains all over the place, because it's too much. And then also there's the thing with Baku's sister finding out, and like there's a lot of beats, and there's a lot. It's a very rich episode, and I feel like I could talk about it for like 30 or 40 minutes easily, but I don't want to. I want to keep this under control. But like there's a lot going on here, and it was a really good episode, very solid. I'm just going to say, yeah, it is the best episode so far. And it's amazing because it blends the toy selling aspect, the story selling aspect, and the character aspect of well. Like, I'm sold in these characters. I want to see what happens with their stories. I'm even more invested in them than I was before. And I like that suit. It's a great looking suit that Nox Knight has, and I'm interested to find out more about that and what implications that has, because it says Night System Initiate or something like that. So like, what's the Night System and Night System Invoke, I think. Anyway, like, who came up with that? How old is Code? How do they work? Did they weasel their way into Baku's dreams, or did he? Because apparently he didn't create them. Like, what does all this mean? Is he going to be able to dream the recovery of the barrier capsum and the recovery capsum, which is off the board, not destroyed? I think it's still existing, but Nox has it. This episode gives a lot of answers, and it creates a lot more questions, and it draws you in as the viewer, and it does a really good job, and it does it with great visuals and great aesthetics and great effects, and it was all very exciting and fun to see. And like, Baku got to use the capsum in the real world, like awake, and he was able to block off the card from hitting the kid, and like, that's cool too. Like, that's expanding. I believe this is the first time we've really seen him do that in the real world, I think. I mean, he's used the gadgets, which are powered by capsums to some extent, like the little camera tracker or whatever. I think he uses them before, but like, this is the most explicit, I think, demonstration of his power being utilized like this in the real world. And maybe that has to do with the cost that Nox talked about from before, a few episodes ago. So it's like, it's moving things forward, and it's also connecting back to what came in the past. So it's all internally consistent and all really rich and all really enjoyable. And I'm really pleased I'm watching this. I'm enjoying it so much, and it's very, very good. And my hat's off to Yu Takahashi for being a great creator, a great Kamen Rider. I think he's probably my favorite Kamen Rider writer. I've only really seen Kiva, and I haven't watched Agito, which, what's his name? The controversial guy whose daughter did Jojuju and whose dad worked on the original Kamen Rider. He holds a fish like this, I think. Anyway, whoever he is, I thought he was my favorite Kamen Rider writer, because I think he even worked on Kamen Rider Black, but then he worked on Kiva, I know for sure. And Agito, he may have done some Kuga writing as well. Anyway, it doesn't matter who he is right now. We'll talk about it more later when I have the data in front of me. And yeah, he was my favorite guy, but I think Yu Takahashi is my favorite guy. I've seen all of X8 and all of 01, and now I'm watching this. And I think there's one more show that he did for sure that I should check out. But yeah, I mean, that gives me even more encouragement to check out his other work, because this is so good. X8 was so good, and 01 was really enjoyable as well. So yes, I will end the review at this point. Please check out the pinned comment. Check out my links to other stuff here. I'll have hopefully a playlist for all of my Kamen Rider Zeztz coverage, a playlist for all of my Omega coverage, maybe a third playlist for my Heart and Soul series, where I'm like, it's the Henshin Reflection series. Heart and Soul is a sub-series within it, where I'm just like talking about the Tokusatsu industry and storytelling and different things like that in a different way. It's not a review episode. It's not an episode review. It's more of like a thinking about Tokusatsu and Henshin heroes specifically, and discussing them and doing it in a little bit of a higher way, a more exalted way, because that's fun kind of stuff that I enjoy, and there's room for speculation and conversation there, which I would like you to participate in. Check out my short from before, and then I'm sure I'm going to have other thoughts, so I'll probably have I have at least one more other short idea that I came up with while recording this that I want to talk about later, so look forward to that as well. That's it for now. Until next time, folks, take care. This is MJ, signing off with Henshin Inspection and Rider Tears. Be well. And don't make nightmares come true, okay? It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing.